anti-illegal drug operations. No? The second memorandum is one which is a proclamation. It's not a memorandum, it's a proclamation declaring the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army, as a designated identified terrorist organization under RA number 10168. RA 10168, as you know, is the Human Security Act. And the Human Security Act says that, I quote, designated persons as any person or entity designated and or identified as a terrorist, one who finances terrorism or a terrorist organization or group under the applicable UN Security Council resolution or by another jurisdiction or supranational jurisdiction. And pursuant to the proclamation which implements the Human Security Act, I quote the penultimate portion, in this regard, I hereby direct the Department of Foreign Affairs to publish the foregoing designation of the CPP-NPA and all other designated persons, organizations in accordance with Section 3 and 15 of RA 10168 and its implementing rules and regulations. So, as the President has stated before, he has finally classified the CPP-NPA as a terrorist organization within the purview of the Human Security Act. So those two memorandums were, well, the memorandum and the proclamation were both signed today, but I cannot release a copy of both unless it has been given a number by the Office of Executive Secretary.
Sir, what's next after the proclamation? I mean, what will be the directives to law enforcers?
Thank you. There was a directive, and I forgot to read, that the President also issued a memorandum to the the Executive Secretary issued a memorandum to Vitaliano Aguirre, the Secretary of the Department of Justice, and I quote, pursuant to the provisions of RA 9372, otherwise known as the Human Security Act of 2007, in view of the continued violent acts of the CPP-NPA, which sow and create a condition of widespread and extraordinary fear and panic among the populace, the DOJ is hereby directed to immediately file the necessary application for the proscription or declaration of the CPP-NPA as a terrorist organization with appropriate regional trial court. So, because of the proclamation, the Secretary was directed by the Executive Secretary to file a petition in the RTC because it is not automatic that just because the Executive has classified a group as a terrorist organization, it will be considered as a terrorist organization under the domestic law and under relevant Security Council resolutions. Take note, this is not just in relation to Philippine domestic law, but also in relation to a UN Security Council resolution intended to curtail financing of terrorist organizations. No? So the proper petition must be filed by the DOJ in court.
Which RTC?
Well, RTC Manila, no? Petition to classify the CPP-NPA as a terrorist group under the Human Security Act.
Okay, so what happens to the members?
Well, as I said, no, that's premature muna, no? Because we have to file first in court.
So the proclamation will take effect after a court decides on the petition?
Well, let's put it this way. They have been proclaimed by the President, and that has effect already because, of course, we don't talk peace with terrorists now. But for purposes of our Human Security Act, the RTC must rule that pursuant to the government petition that the CPP-NPA is in fact a terrorist organization.
So the whole
Did the proclamation state something about the crackdown on the so-called legal fronts? Yes.
Well, I will read to you again the proclamation
happens to the
because
legal
when
funds?
there is a document, the best evidence is the document itself.
Hearing lang.
Okay? So, okay, again, I will release it as soon as it is dated, but this has been signed by the President. Okay, let me read the other, well, I'll just read it, no? Whereas RA 10168, otherwise known as the Terrorism, Financing, Prevention, and Suppression Act of 2012, states that it is the policy of the state to protect life, liberty, and property from acts of terrorism and condemn terrorism and those who support and finance it, and to recognize it as inimical and dangerous to the national security of the country and the welfare of the people, and to make financing of terrorism a crime against the Filipino people, against humanity, and against the law of nations. Whereas RA number 10168 criminalizes the financing of terrorism and dealing with property or funds of designated persons or organizations, and prevents and suppresses the commission of said offenses through freezing and forfeiture of the property of funds of said designated persons, organizations, among others. Whereas Section 3E1 of RA 10168 defines designated persons as any person or entity designated or identified as a terrorist, one who finances terrorism or terrorist organization or group under the applicable United Nations Security Council resolution or by another jurisdiction or supranational jurisdiction. Whereas on 9 August 2002, the United States of America designated the CPP and NPA as a foreign terrorist organization and to date continues to include the CPP and NPA in all lists of FTOs. And whereas Article 7, Section 17 of the Constitution provides that the President shall ensure that the laws are faithfully executed. Now therefore, I, Rodrigo Roque Duterte, President of the Republic of the Philippines, by virtue of the powers vested in me by the Constitution and existing laws, do hereby declare the CPP-NPA as a designated and or identified as a terrorist organization pursuant to Section 3E1 of RA number 10168.
What happens now to...
In this regard, I hereby direct the Department of Foreign Affairs to publish the foregoing designation of CPP-NPA and are the designated persons, organizations in accordance with Section 3 and 15 of RA 10168 and in its implementing rules and regulations. Take note that the domestic statute and the UN Security Council prohibits the giving of funds to terrorist organizations. This will enable law enforcement agencies to run after individuals who will in any way provide financial support to the NPA now that it has been described as a terrorist organization.
Sir, what happens to Joma?
I do not know what will happen to Joma. I do not know the status of Joma because Joma,
Asylum siya, di ba?
if I understand, has taken Dutch citizenship. No?
Oh, so?
He's a foreign national unless there's legal basis to, well, if it can be proven that he is in fact a part of CPP NPA, no? Then the relevant UN Security Council resolution can be invoked, no? And if it can be proven that he provides material support to the CPP-NPA, then he can be proceeded against.
Hihilingin mo ng Philippine government na pabalikin na si Joma rito first.
Foreign na siya.
I was not given any instruction, or I was not given any indication by the President on that matter. I was just directed to reveal that he has signed this memorandum and this proclamation.
So does that mean there will be investigations on the so-called legal fronts, whether they are funding the CPP-NPA?
I think that's outside of the instrument, but the President has said, remember, that he will hold, paraphrasing the President, because I can't quote him word for word, he will hold the legal fronts of the CPP-NPA responsible.
Parang it goes without saying, parang
I do not know. That's your conclusion, but all I'm saying is the President did say that he will run after legal front of the CPP-NPA.
So kasama na ba yung NDF?
The three.
Well, as I said, the document speaks for itself. It's CPP-NPA for
So
now.
hindi dadakapin yung mga NDF consultant?
I do not know because I'm only here to announce the proclamation and the memorandum. And as I said, the document speaks for itself.
CNN, di ba? CPP and NPA.
CPP-NPA.
Hindi kasama
Wala
ng
NDF.
NDF.
Hindi kasama.
There was no mention of an NDF. So it's CPP-NPA.
So, ano nga sir, ulit? So, sino yung terrorist org lang?
The document says it's CPP-NPA.
CPP and PA.
Hindi
Ibig
kasama.
sabihin,
Mere membership enough para arrestuhin or kailangan ba they should take up arms or mahuli yung matanggap ng supporter?
Well, the UN Security Council resolution says that it shall be unlawful to contribute to terrorist organizations. That's one. So providing contribution to them is actionable. No? Number two, well, the Human Security Act can become a legal basis for criminal prosecution for terrorism if you're found to be a member of a terrorist group. But you need to commit any of the predicate crimes under the Human Security Act. I enjoin all of you to read it, but the Human Security Act requires predicate crimes with the additional element that the act is intended to sow fear or panic in the minds of the
Sir,
general
ba't walang
public.
NDF?
I do not know. I was just asked to declare or to announce that the President had signed already this proclamation.
Secretary, yung mga NPA na may dalang baril pero hindi naman nagpapaputok, babarilin din ba yun o huhulihin lang?
Alam mo, nasagot ko na yan, no? Kasi under the under international humanitarian law because there's an ongoing non-international armed conflict. They are valid military targets.
Sir, so what,
Armed
Kahit hindi sila
rebels.
nagpapaputok, basta may dalang baril, babarilin na rin.
Well, it's, alam mo kasi, ang hirap dito sa mga tanong ninyo, it really depends on the particular case, no? So I would not venture a legal advice, no? However, all I can state is, under the current state of IHL, an armed rebel is an armed rebel. The only debate right now is whether or not you can shoot a sleeping rebel.
with a gun?
Yes, okay?
So, sir,
But an
wala
armed
na-
rebel is an armed rebel.
Sir, wala pong SOMO, suspension of
That's a different topic. The President has not said anything on a Christmas SOMO.
Sir,
Nothing. But I think the SND has issued a statement that he is not inclined to recommend a SOMO. So let's leave it at that.
Sir, so, okay.
Sir, dun sa dropper lang, just for the record. Please mamaya.
Sir, so okay. Aside from what you said already from the document, no? So what changes after the CPP and PA are being declared terrorist
They
organizations?
go to court now for a judicial declaration that they are in fact a terrorist organization.
If you are a member of the CPP and PA, should you be scared?
Well, I would think so because you have been classified as a member of a terrorist organization.
Sir, yung sa RA 10168, clear na defining yung crime of financing of terrorism. Doon sa Human Security Act, ano ang specific?
May mga predicate crimes. Medyo mahaba yung Human Security Act. I enjoy you to read it, no?
Sir, dun lang sa drop war, just for the record, what is the reason of the President why he allowed the PNP to resume active support?
It's in the memorandum itself. And I will read the memorandum. Okay? Hindi ko ba binasa? Okay, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Whereas on 10 October 2017, the President issued memorandum to concerned agencies directing the NBI, BNP, AFP, and the Philippine Postal Office, or any and all ad hoc anti-illegal drug task force to leave to the PIDEA as sole agency the conduct of all campaigns and operations against all those who are involved in the or connected with illegal drugs, whereas the issuance of said memorandum was intended to pinpoint precise accountability and was prompted by allegations from some sectors that summary killings of illegal drug suspects has been perpetrated by law enforcement agencies, including the PNP, whereas the PIDEA has made significant strides in the government's anti-illegal drug campaign since 11 October 2017, with only one drug suspect killed in the course of its anti-illegal drug operations, but has been seriously hampered in performing its huge mandate by the lack of resources, specifically agents and operatives who can penetrate drug-infected areas down to the municipal and barangay levels, whereas there's been a notable resurgence in illegal drugs activities and crimes committed in relation thereto since PNP and the other law enforcement agencies were elected to leave to the PIDEA as a sole agency the conduct of all anti-illegal drug campaigns and operations, whereas there is a clamor from the public to restore to the PNP and all other law enforcement agencies the responsibility of providing active support to the PIDEA in the conduct of anti-illegal drug operations.
Sir, just to be clear.
And therefore, NBI, PNP, AFP, BOC, PhilPos, and all other agencies and existing anti-illegal drug task force shall resume to provide active support to PIDEA. PIDEA shall continue to be the overall lead agency in the anti-illegal drug campaign. Dangerous Drugs Board shall remain as the policy-making and strategy formulating body, the planning and formulation of policies and programs on drug prevention and control. PIDEA as chair of ICAD shall submit monthly reports to the Office of President on the progress of the government's anti-illegal drug campaign.
So sir, may tukhang na ulit,
That's not covered by the document.
but in terms of
That's
effect,
not covered by the document because it says that the PNP and all other agencies can now participate anew in the
So
illegal
therefore-
drug efforts. Well, it's very clear, PIDEA is the lead. So if Tokhang will be implemented by the PNP, I would suppose there will have to be coordination with PIDEA.
Sir, yung sinasabi nitong recently that eventually he will bring it back to the PNP, wala na yon.
That's it. This is the marching orders of the president because there's a law which in fact says that it is the PIDEA that will be the lead agency in implementing the anti-dangerous drugs
Secretary,
law.
what does active support mean?
They can participate now, whereas in the past, all of them were told not to do anything. Only the PIDEA.
But they cannot do operations on their own.
Well, I suppose because there's a lead agency, they must coordinate with the lead
So
agency.
kung may operation, ang composite unit mo dyan would be may mga police and may PIDEA na.
I do not know. That's speculative. All I'm saying is, perhaps if they want to resume Tokhang, then they need to confer with PIDEA on how to implement
Or
it.
PIDEA would have to ask the PNP to resume it.
I don't know how they will agree on the terms of actually enforcing Tokhang new, but PIDEA must be consulted, and PIDEA must not be deprived of its role as lead agency in implementing the Dangerous Drugs Act.
Secretary, is it still safe to assume that the President is not satisfied with the way PIDEA handled the drug war?
I don't think that it is not satisfied, but it is say that they recognize lack of resources.
Hampered.
Because right now, when PIDEA was the only agency, we all know that they have like 2,000 manpower. No? So now, the President clearly wants PIDEA to take the lead, but it wants to avail of the manpower and resources of all other agencies of government, not just the PNP, including the Philippine Postal Corporation.
Sir, won't this raise doubts? Because sir, so far wala pang cleansing na nangyayari sa PNP despite drug war being removed from their territory before.
I would assume that because PIDEA would take the lead, that PNP will coordinate its efforts with the PIDEA. And PIDEA in turn will share its capabilities and know-how with all other police enforcement agencies.
Sir, paulit lang nung sa LPA, sir, para sa mga nakikinig sa atin sa DZMM, sir. Ano yung proclamation?
Oh, yeah, sir.
Talaga special, oh.
Yes, yung sa LPA, sir.
OFW na.
Sir, saka
Oo,
yung nakikinig din sa DCRH, saka sa DCWB, sir.
Sir, yung naka-live ka na sa
Sir, if and when arrests are to happen, will it only happen after the court issues yung anumang order po na that will come from the motions from the DOJ? And can anyone just be arrested, or do they need to be caught doing a crime?
You have to check the language of the Human Security Act. Now remember, the statute mentioned to, aside from the Human Security Act, is the special law against financing of terrorist activities. So insofar as financing terrorist organizations and activities are concerned, anyone caught financing the NPA now could be held liable under the special law. But for purposes of the Human Security Act, there would have to be a predicate crime committed with the additional element of sowing fear and panic.
Yung mga mining companies na nagbibigay ng revolutionary tax. Tas,
My reading is that's financing of terrorist organizations. That's a matter of legal defense.
so mining companies.
Secretary, going back to the drug war, yung
Financiers.
decision to make PIDEA still the lead and then to include the PNP, nag-take into account ba sa decision-making process yung mga nangyaring alleged killings by the police kung mga minors at saka ng teenagers?
I think there was also a mention in the document itself that there were like increase in crimes, no, related to drugs. So I suppose yes.
Is that scientific? I mean,
Well,
based
that's
on
what I'm just basing it on the document.
So yung clamor na sinasabi, sa galing yun, anong indications na may clamor to return the PNP to the drug war?
I've read about it in the media as well, that people and communities are saying that they want it restored, not to the PNP. But as I said, it is not as if it was restored to the PNP because PIDEA remains the lead agency.
Sir, tumaas ba yung crime rate?
There was no mention in the document.
Rape cases?
There was no mention in the document. And there's a controversy between PIDEA and PNP on that.
Sir, last sa akin, can you take us through the process again dun sa DOJ pagkatapos nung mag-issue ng court ng
The reason why it has to be brought to court is for purposes of due process. They want the CPP NPA to be heard why they should not be designated as a terrorist organization. Yes. Yes. That's for due process purposes.
The court can still
Ha? Please ask them.
So yung lulutang o jackpot round,
After that hearing or kapag nandoon na sa court, sir, what happens next?
decision.
Decision.
Then they become a terrorist organization.
So when do we become officially a terrorist organization?
For
After
purposes of the
proclamation?
Human Security Act,
After the court.
after the court.
Pero pwede na sila i-prosecute for predicate crimes now.
If
Kahit
they
wala
Yes.
pa-
Yes. It's only for the purpose of UN Security Council resolution and the financing terrorist organizations, di ba?
So sir, yung mga yung pinakawalan na mga leaders, mga consultants. So right now they're
Suspended.
terrorists, right?
You see that's outside of the document, but I'm again reiterating what the president said. He has asked them to surrender or face recapture, except that on humanitarian grounds, he will no longer order the arrest of those 70 and above.
So, nilalabas yung kailan isa sa
Lalagyan lang yan ng number and then we will release it.
Pero, Secretary, di ba may stiff penalties dun sa human security?
Yes.
Dun sa mga nakulong na hindi man sila terrorist.
Yes.
So, ano
500,000 per day.
So, anong gagawin nyo to make sure na hindi naman
Well,
yung-
police, law enforcement agencies better be careful.
Secretary, anong warning ng Malacanang sa mga rallyista at sa mga organisadong grupo na magmamarcha sa lansangan?
Well, ang palasyo naman po ay naniniwala sa karapatan ng malayang pananalita, malayang peaceful assembly, pero wag po gagawa ng krimen.
Pero kung sila'y kasama ng mga pinaghihinalang legal fraud ng NPA, huhulihin ba sila kahit sila'y kasama lang sa rally?
Wala naman pong ganun sinasabi, no? Ang pinagbabawal po ngayon, yung pagbibigay ng pondo at paggagawa ng krimen na classified by law as terrorist acts. No?
Sir, if you are a member of the legal front, theoretically speaking, so how can the government run after you?
I will not speculate on that. Let the courts decide.
No, I mean if you law enforcement matter ba to?
I am just a
Paghuhulihin?
spokesperson. They can have the legal debate in court. But I cannot speculate on that. Okay?
So naglalakad lang sila na may tag na terrorist, pero pwede sila maglakad.
Yeah, of course, walking. Always allowed.
Metaphor.
With the return of the PNP to the drug war, what are the measures in place to stop yung mga abuses? Anything in
Well, right now, it's still the PIDEA that has the lead.
to punish or to mete out penalties dun sa
I think it's very clear. The language is very clear. There's no need for construction. PIDEA has the lead. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Secretary.
Yan pa binuo ni sir na
And have a safe
Hindi na ako lawyer, no? O, wala na tayong press con bukas, ha? I can take an earlier flight.
ay, biyahe ka na pang New York?
Pag may number.